to where most people can't resist it if they're unconscious. They just become acclimated to it. But I'm just sad for this country. Because Afghanistan, Iraq, and all of that, seizing the oil and circling those countries, that was a secondary mission. The primary mission was to create large groups of soldiers who've served up to 8 tours who can then be brought back here and be turned into paramilitary police to carry out those exact type of martial law operations. That's what Afghanistan and Iraq are on record. The checkpoints, the frisking, the house-to-house gun confiscations. The government admits that that's a laboratory for here in the United States. And I remember Private Bruckheimer was in the Ithaca newspaper in 2003, and he came back and talked about how much he loved his job and how they'd go into villages and kill everyone, including the children. And the Army, a day later, had a clarification on Fox News. And they said, the Pentagon wants to clarify, only certain villages that have hostiles do we send in ground troops after cluster bombing them and kill everybody, including children. And so he just did something. You know, this guy that reportedly killed the 16 people, most of them little kids, toddlers, then burned them up, stabbed them. There was a lot of enjoyment going on here. And he told him, you know, my foot's partially blown off. I don't want to be sent back. Was it his 5th time, 4th time? This was his 5th deployment. They say he was Mr. Goody Two-Shoes growing up, Mr. Good Guy. But you look what Mr. Good Guy turned into. Now they're making him a victim, and some of the talk radio shows are saying, oh, come on, it's just Hajis. And when these guys come home and kill their families and kill little kids and stuff, they're the minority that can't handle it. Why, they're just going to take our guns because of it. The general public's. So we can't protect ourselves from the other troops that have gone haywire that are the police. You know, the ones where they go on a bus and tell a woman stand up, and she says, what's your problem? So the cop full power punches her and basically breaks her jaw. And then the media defends it and says, oh, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, well, the banks are going to abuse everybody too. See, it's like a green light for the psychopaths in the government and the armies they've created to have their way with us. But then the vast majority of the military men and women who haven't gone insane because of their relationship with God or family, whatever the case is, their mental toughness, you're the enemy. That in all the government documents, you're the enemy. You're the enemy. And they're going to send all the other troops that will do whatever they're told and just want to kill some people, they're going to send them after you. And this has all been a big laboratory to produce these forces to do that. And I'm going to get into a big report on martial law and all the rest of it here today. And I'm going to play a clip of the Attorney General talking about brainwashing the public through television. The full clip's up on Infowars.com. We'll play about a minute of it here. And then later, if we have time, play the whole clip for the radio audience. And then in the second hour, I want to open the phones up for police and military again. We do this every few weeks. Active duty. Because if I say veterans, the veterans who are great folks will fill the phones. And then we can't get any active duty calling in. But the first round of calls, current police, serving police, you know, all of its military parlance. We're the civilians. They're the military government. That's the essence of the definition of martial law. And so we'll be opening the phones up for everybody. But I did hours of research yesterday and hours this morning And I want to give you a little presentation here on what martial law is, how it operates, and how we're being incrementally brought into it. But then the bigger question, why? What does the system plan to do once the sun is set, once the doors are shut, once we're tied down? See, criminals always, when they come into a bank and get your hands up. Anybody moves, I'm going to blow your head off. They want to scare you. That's what the government does. They're using less lethal weapons. That's the real name for them. And then upping the power of the taser, upping the power of the microwave, upping the power of the sound cannon until it starts killing people. Rubber bullets every few months start killing people in America. And then it's more power rubber bullets. And then not just 1 out of 50 times, but 1 out of 10 you die. Then 1 out of 3 you die. Till everybody's just trained that you die when you protest. You get arrested when you videotape police. You disappear. You lose your radio license when you criticize the government. You get your website shut down. You get your credit card turned off. You get your PayPal turned off. You better do what you're told. And so everybody does what they're told, and the sun fully sets. And then what do they plan once that happens? This particular elite doesn't just want to rob stuff. If you have a tyranny like that, it's bad. The economy breaks down because nobody wants to produce anymore because somebody's just going to steal it from you. You kind of fall apart into a third world type scenario. We're not going to be like Venezuela or Nigeria. We're not going to be that lucky. We're a 21st century system. Bigger and better. The center of the New World Order eugenics empire. We're going to be killed. We're going to be tortured. We're going to be secretly arrested. Because that's the new economy. That's the new scholarships. That's the new way. You think the U.S. leading the world in prisons? That's just the start. And there's going to be forced inoculations, and all homeschooling is going to be banned, and everyone's going to have their local rural affairs minder in your town. This has all been announced. That's going to come on your property and boss you around and give you fines and fees. And if you get smart with them, a SWAT team's going to pull up in an armored vehicle with a bunch of killers who served 5 or 6 tours in combat zones, and they're going to kill you and your family. And they want you to get into a fight with them. That's what they're planning. And then there's going to be a civil war. And the bankers are going to sit back in Europe and they're going to laugh at it. That's what they plan on happening. I don't know. Could Americans wake up and say no? Hey, we've had enough of world government, enough of global corporate fascist rule, enough of all this tyranny, enough of it? I don't know. That's a question. But the people steering us have a destination on record that is absolute despotism. Absolute deception. Remember Fast and Furious, shipping guns into Mexico to blame the Second Amendment. All caught, thousands dead, nobody gets in trouble. Billboards up across the country for 20 years that say, report illegal guns. And it's an image of a shotgun or a revolver. And then when the carpet cleaner is in your house and sees a gun case, they call the cops on you. And the cops go ahead and come and go ahead and arrest you, even though there's no law. That happens all over the United States. I see it in the newspaper every week. I see it in the news where a realtor comes to your house and sees reloading equipment and a can of black powder. You're going to jail. It's on the news. Mr. Jones, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Smith was arrested for an arsenal. You go look at the state law. What is an arsenal? There's no such thing. And they've got juries so kept and so dumb, a lot of times you go to jail. You're like, but that's not, there's not even a law. That's right. There's no law they can take your kids for not taking vaccines, but they do. See, we're already under martial law. And I haven't even gotten to this presentation yet, and then I'm going to give the number out. But I'm begging you to realize we're dealing with pure deception and manipulation. And I'm begging the military and the police and others to not be cowardly. Everyone I know now goes, you're right, it's tyranny, it's all coming true. Oh, great. It doesn't make me happy. I don't want to be right. Do you realize how dangerous it is to be Alex Jones and to be right and to have all this credibility? You think the system likes the fact that I've made a study of everything they do and then I can guess 10 steps ahead what they're going to do? You think they're happy about that? You think they're happy about the fact that I have millions of listeners? They're trying to kick everybody else off the radio right now, and they're trying with us. The only chance we've got to beat these people is to stand up against them. Now, here is the Attorney General, when he was Deputy Attorney General, on C-SPAN in 1995. We're going to go out to break with this, saying, we need to brainwash the public. And he goes on that he's met with all the executives of the media. And he's asking them to really push anti-gun messages. That's why it's in all the sitcoms, the dramas, the cop shows. It's brainwashing. And here he is saying it. Brainwashing. Go ahead.
So that we can get these ads, so we can use these spots, and not to give us 1, 2 o'clock in the morning ads when nobody's watching, but at the time when people, particularly young people, are watching television, so that when they're watching, you know, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or Martin or whatever else they watch, and yeah, I watch those things once in a while, so that they'll see these ads and they'll be grabbed by these ads. I've also asked people who have influence over youngsters, entertainers, athletes, to be involved in this program as well. But not only them, community leaders, Jesse Jackson, Mayor Barry, people who have credibility with young people should be on the television, on the radio, as much as we possibly can, and telling these youngsters that it's wrong to carry a gun, and that if you have information about people who are carrying guns, you've got to share that with Chief Thomas and with his people as well. I've also asked the school board to make a part of every day some kind of anti-violence, anti-gun message. Every day, every school, at every level. One thing that I think is clear... No matter how hard you try, you can't stop us now.
We're going to play the rest of the clip where he says brainwashing. And earlier in the 3-minute snippet, he's talking about, I've met with the advertising executives, the TV people. We've got to get these messages out there. We've got to literally brainwash. And that's what all this is, this idea that because there's crime, you've got to turn your guns in. This is a guy quoted supporting the complete abolition of the individual ownership of guns. Now, you notice on the subject of the Second Amendment, we're turning the tide. Al Gore was here in town last week for South by Southwest and was quoted as saying, he's losing the war for the environment. No, the globalists are the ones actually hurting the environment while creating straw man arguments about carbon dioxide just because they want to tax all human activity. You see, they are beginning to lose. That's why they're taking the gloves off and going, well, we'll just take over via martial law. Now, here's Eric Holder, a guy whose memos have been declassified, talking about covering up what really happened in Oklahoma City. And I've talked to the eyewitnesses who saw the feds in there planting the bombs. But notice he's talking to the Justice Department people like a little kid. Oh, I like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's like Obama, he's out on St. Patty's Day with